roll.
That's the intro music for the Straight and Curly podcast.
We were not. Drake's working on ours.
I know. Yeah, we got OVO 40. OVO 40 working on the track.
He's working on Certified Waste Boy. The intro to the Straight and Curly
Certified
podcast.
as stupid.
Welcome to episode 113 of the Straight and Curly podcast. Today,
Straight and Curly.
Alicia,
you want Peppa Pod?
how about what's the other one?
Aki and Saltfish.
We're on video. There.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are on video.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get to this point of comfortability,
What do you mean?
of being comfortable putting my face on
Oh, right. That's
Like-
true.
the internet again.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
You've made your return.
Yeah.
It's like Le King James.
We were laughing at LeBron's. We were laughing at LeBron's like nicknames that people call him, and like not like good ones, like
Yeah.
LaFraud and
LaFraud, LaBum, LaBrick. LaCheat is a great one. My ultimate favorite though.
Today you ended me with La Disney though.
That's my ultimate favorite.
You read it? This guy read a comment of somebody that said, what did they say?
Because like they were doing so NBA when the quarantine happened, they played in the bubble in Orlando at Disney Studios, right? Or one of those places, Disneyland or whatever.
Yeah, the bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of the comments on one of the posts of like LeBron's highlight clip was like, "Oh, when the Lakers won the championship, they're like, oh, congrats, LeBron, on your Mickey Mouse title." I was fucking dying
so
when
funny.
I saw that. It's so funny. Like people just don't give a shit. They'll just as good as this guy is, they'll just say LaFraud. Like what? It's too funny.
LaFraud, LaFlop.
Yeah, LaFlop's a good one. Yeah, LaChoke.
It's just
La Disney though,
phonetically,
man.
it's just
fucking
funny. Yeah.
La Disney.
La Disney flattened me today. He just finished me.
I was in tears. I was so funny.
One thing I think about is like, think about how many times LeBron has had to be in the public eye.
Yeah, since he was a kid.
Yeah, like when I started to think about like, man, how do people change their identity, or how do they become comfortable with like a new, stage that they have to talk on, so to speak, not literally, but like proverbially speaking, like you go from high school to now he's in the NBA and he's talking on, like more and more people and more reach and whatever. And like, I kind of like understand, like in a sense, like, at the end of Coach Carter, when he has that monologue and he says like, we're afraid of like our own light in a sense.
Yeah. He's like, Timo Cruz.
Yeah.
He does a speech in the gym. Yeah.
And he's like, one of the takeaways was like, we're afraid of how we can shine like as children do, something like that.
Yeah.
And like it's when you think of like the freedom like that I think a kid has like wherever, school, like think about like a kid who's like at a water park and they're like 2 or 3 or whatever, like they're not thinking about like what do people think of my body and like,
no, not at all.
What's my this and a hair and like whatever, I don't know, like
exactly.
And it's like very freeing. And so I understand like in a sense like you become so popular, famous, known, whatever.
Yeah.
That like I don't know, like and I think that even my best trying to guess like what it would be like to try to like think how different would my life be if I had to, if I was every move was being like watched or critiqued or whatever, like
legit.
I can't, why you can't, I think the reason I think I can't think of it well is because it's like even my best guess at trying to think of like what it would be like to be a woman in some sense is just as hard as this. Like me being a celebrity is just as improbable, right?
Yeah,
of like
legit.
Me being able to.
Well, if anything, guys know the least about that stuff. Yeah,
Right.
if anything, women would know a little bit more.
For sure, yeah.
For sure,
I
because
agree with
everyone's
that.
looking at them all the time. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Unless
But,
you're
like,
a hot guy, then that's different.
and I also don't know what that.
Definitely, we're not.
I don't know what that feels like either.
We're both a bunch of fucking bums.
Yeah, this is the Shame Yourself podcast.
Yeah, but King James, yeah, man, fuck, this guy literally, like, since he was a fucking teenager, every move has been watched. Imagine that.
I know.
Same with Justin Bieber, though.
I think
like
about
him.
Justin Bieber a lot, actually.
Especially Justin Bieber, man. That guy's more famous than LeBron is, I think. What is that?
My can says yo at the top.
Oh, really?
Sorry, I just want to say.
So random.
Having a boobler.
This is not sponsored by Bubbly.
I know.
Unofficially. It would be nice if they did sponsor us though, because bubblies are pretty fun to drink. I'm not an advocate of bubble soda, whatever the fuck it's called, sparkling fizzy water, sparkling water. But bubbly fucking slaps. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it has to be cold though. As soon as it's a touch warm, I can't drink it. If it's really cold, then it's fine.
One of the future times that we speak, I'll bring a couple of the books that have information that I just can't remember right now. But I remember reading about what natural flavor means and why
it's all bullshit.
Even what's in the water itself, plus like the can and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there are like considerations to be made about the sort of like health of it, as in a sense. Like it's not as, because it sounds nice, natural flavors. It sounds like, oh, it's all, No, they must have squeezed the cherry.
Oh, wow.
And like, so I'm actually in a weird way not advocating for it. Like this is this is crazy because this has become my guilty pleasure. Think of that, where I've come, how far I've come.
Coke.
Dude, this is better than eating cheeseburgers. Like
legit.
Right. But anyways,
or chocolate or candy.
You were talking about Bieber.
Yeah. Biebs. The Bieber. Man, that guy can't live, bro. He can't leave his house without getting hounded by people. And it's funny because I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast with Shane Gillis, and I was listening today.
Who's Shane Gillis?
He's a really funny comedian from Pennsylvania, but he lives in New York now, and he blew up over the pandemic a little bit because so he actually has a really unique story. He just some regular white guy, but he was a sketch comic, but also loved doing stand up, and then he got cast on SNL before the pandemic hit. Like they literally like Lorne Michaels wanted him on SNL as a cast member, because he was so funny. He was wrote great sketches and all that shit. Literally, as soon as he got hired, 2 days later he got fired because the cancel culture fucking dweebs dug out like the dumbest shit from like past years of his podcast, of him saying shit, like offensive things to people now, but out of context. So they SNL saw that NBC was like, we can't have this. So they actually told him you have to either resign or we have to fire you, because it's we can't be associated with the words you said on this podcast, which is pretty fucked.
How long ago was?
I don't know, a few years back. I don't know, I don't remember how many years ago, but he said a few years ago, probably 4 or 5 years, something like that.
And what was his thing? He's like, I'm not gonna.
No, so he was actually had a good mindset about it, because he didn't want to. He didn't talk about it like he was a victim, because he just wants to do comedy. He didn't even care. He's like, yeah, no, he didn't agree that they should fire him, but at the same time, he's like, yeah, I understand the rules and why you had to fire me, but I'm okay with that because I never want to hold back anyway. Because that's what that's what they were talking about, how on SNL they, for sure, all those comics who are on SNL, they have to hold back what they say on the internet, because people will dig shit up and they'll cancel you, whatever bullshit that is, right?
Are the people who are on SNL, on the show, are they writing their own sketches?
It's a team of 30 writers. Yeah,
there's 30 people writing.
There's a lot of writers. Yeah. And
why did I feel like this?
No, they're not doing their own thing. No way.
Yeah.
They could definitely have an input on the process of the sketches, but there's just writers for SNL who just write the sketches. Okay. But the fucked up thing they were talking about was how it's known amongst comedians, if you provide a pitch deck of writing packages for sketches and you give it to SNL, they're gonna just reject it, but they're gonna take your ideas and write it anyway and do them. They're if they're good.
Are they they're allegedly known to do this?
Yeah, they're fucking sketch thieves. Huh. Apparently, that's why it's he's I don't even care. I don't want to write anyway or perform, because I don't want to hold back on what I say in my stand up and my podcast.
Sorry, just to be clear, he was describing this story on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah,
and what was he? And so what was the? And he brought this up. Why?
Because that's what he was known for. This past 2 years. It went viral on Twitter for 30 days.
Oh, this was a big thing.
Big thing in the comedy world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And what was what were the different sides that people were?
Oh, people were just, nothing nothing. They're just he was just saying that it's the culture, it's the cancel culture of vultures who just want to bring people down, literally. But they're talking about how people are just getting tired of that shit. more people are just like fed up with all the sensitivity, which is good. It's going in the right direction, and also, but he also understands that people just like that's their livelihood is canceling people. So he understands that it just had to happen, and like, but he's okay with it. And also, they're both talking about how like the only reason he's on there talking about that is because he actually blew up even more after he got fired from SNL.
Yeah,
because people found out he's actually really funny, and his sketches are really fucking good. And they're like viral videos.
And is he on now Joe Rogan because of like that thing, or like he was him and Joe Rogan, like he was just like a funny.
No, he didn't. They didn't meet until like 2 weeks before. The podcast.
Oh wow! Oh cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I think Andrew Schultz was the one who told him about Shane Gillis, and they watched his videos. And one of the videos I saw too, I was like, wow, this is fucking good.
What's his style of like?
It's like kind of like making fun of like certain things in the world, like figures, or like he made an OnlyFans sketch. It's like making fun of like an OnlyFans dad, like
an OnlyFans, like a dad who's on OnlyFans, or a dad who knows
he's like tearing down his family because he's just like obsessed with doing OnlyFans. Like I have to watch the videos, but it's really funny. Okay, definitely search them up if you guys want to watch. But
Shane Gillis,
Gillian Keeves is their sketch page on YouTube.
There's two of them.
Yeah, they're like he's like actor writer, like they're like they work together.
But it's two people.
Two people. Like, okay, it's their sketch channel. It's like Key and Peele.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and they're really fucking good, man. They're his Trump video, it's like best Trump video I've ever seen. And Joe Rogan was talking about it too. Like it's his favorite video, and like, I actually like I'm so for that though. Like the fact that he got fired from SNL and now he's like thriving even more than they are. Like his sketches are miles way better than SNL sketches are.
And you think that that's because like they've been good this whole time? It's just that they haven't put those kinds of things on, or like they don't bring those kinds of people who like want to be controversial in a sense, or like go all the way, like be themselves. Because that's like what I'm taking away from what you're saying. Like this guy was unwilling to not be himself.
Yeah, that's 100%, why he's like, exactly. Because he's like, I don't even care about any of this shit. I just want to do comedy.
Yeah,
that's all. Right. It's exactly how I feel about it too. That's why I relate with it, because he's like, I don't care. Like comedy is always going to be there for me. I don't care if this person fires me. That like, as long as I get to do whatever I want to do, I'm good. So I'm okay with getting fired, because I'm like, well, then it's not meant to be. So I was like, wow, it's pretty good. Like mindset good. About it, and that's also good. Like you're talking about, like had to put out a statement that day, like after the second day of getting hired, NBC like forced him pretty much to put out a statement of like saying sorry, and like I shouldn't have said those words, but he's like, I'm not saying that shit, because if he was talking about like other comedians coming up to him talking and telling him like, if you put out a statement saying sorry for those words and you keep saying them on stage, like you're gonna lose all credibility and stuff like that, because
right, exactly.
You're not sorry for those words, you're just fucking around, you're just talking shit.
He didn't say it.
No, he's just like, yes, like sorry if I hurt anyone's feelings, but this is just my, like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's pretty much like, this is just what it was just a podcast, we were talking shit with my friend, this is comedy or whatever, blah blah blah, that's it.
And let me ask you this, what's your take on this? And then if you recall, what was the conversation of like Joe Rogan and Shane's conversation, like what's their perspective on this?
Well, I just said like it's good that he left anyway.
No, I mean like you would have done the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, well, I mean, like,
and Joe Rogan saying like he agrees with him too, or like he was hearing the story from his point of view. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, he's telling the story to him. Yeah, and yeah, why the fuck would you want to go back to SNL after that? Like,
right?
He just now he's thriving doing his own thing.
No, but I'm saying this in context of like there are people who like wouldn't have done that. Like they would have stayed, right? Or they would have
bitched out and like.
Well, so I'm saying they would have abandoned like what. They would have held back. Their true identity was, or like
because they're scared of getting canceled. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So like it's I'm trying to get at is like I was trying to gauge like what was the feeling of people like yourself and people like Joe Rogan of what happened. Like because obviously there are sides, right? There are some people who are like, no, you should apologize and you should be a part of the institution, which tells you it's probably definitely what side I'm on too, obviously.
Yeah. No, I would never. I'm so for what he did, because his sketches are far better than what SNL is anyway now, and they're missing out. Like they shouldn't have fired him, man. Like this guy's fucking. He's one of the funniest people I've seen that have come out of SNL, technically. But like,
So is SNL
that's just like the politics of network TV.
So is SNL even like desirable anymore?
No,
like,
really, no. It's really gone to shit in the past few years. Every comedian knows that.
Something I heard Joe Rogan actually say on a different episode recently was he's like, before when he had just started out his career, 1988 or 89, he said in Boston, and then eventually came to California and LA and stuff. Everybody, as in comedians and comics and whatever, were trying to vie for like, 8 sitcoms, or like like a handful of like shows or tours, or a handful of like radio things. Like it was very limited, and so it was very. These are his words. Like it was in a sense dog eat dog. Like it was too vicious. It was too. I can do the better, cheaper, different, whatever.
For sure.
And then the reason he brought this up is to illustrate like when podcasting started, it became like, hey, wait a minute, like I don't need to be in competition with you or backstab you at the worst side of the spectrum. I can actually even go on the other side and invite you to be on my show and be like, yeah, this person is playing at this show here and this, check them out, and here's their book or their new special or whatever. And then, you invite me on your show, and it's like, it's all of a sudden it's like a brotherhood or like a sisterhood, like a family affair.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that it's actually developed that way. Like you've probably experienced it to a smaller extent, like in a different way. Maybe it's not like come on my podcast, whatever, but you got, between think about video collabs and like sketch ideas and stuff.
Well, there's more opportunity now, and now you don't have to answer to anybody above you. You can just do your own thing now, which is great. And
this,
so I advocate a lot for that. And like if that happened, like I've always wanted to be on SNL. It would be fucking sick to do that. But like now I hear all these stories from all these other comedians who the shit they go through and just how they operate over there. And I'm like more and more not willing to even be a part of it because I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't be me. I feel like I'd have to hold back, which I don't want to do. And also, if they're digging up a fucking thing from him, like 3-4 years before,
you might as well cancel yourself now, pal.
I'm not getting in, bro. There's no way I'm getting in.
You, Kyle, Lucy,
no chance.
And
JJ, they ran Ryan Long. None of us are getting in.
All the amigos. Yeah,
but like, I don't even honestly like. I'm actually okay with that because I don't know. Like SNL is not the same as it was like 10 years ago. When I was in high school, it was fucking popping. It was like, I remember even when I was in high school, like that was like a big thing. People would watch it Saturday nights all the time. And even like after high school, I remember people would always talk about it. And that was when like the cast was much better. And now it's just like a bunch of like PC fucking liberal, like left wing.
Right.
Everything's all like sensitive topics and like you can't say this and that kind of comedy. And it's just not as fun. They used to push the boundaries before, like 20 years ago when Will Ferrell and all those guys were on it. It was really funny, like characters and like
wasn't like Jim Carrey and those kinds of
Jim Carrey was a big part. Like sometimes like Will Ferrell was a big part.
I didn't see. I gotta be honest. I've actually never. I don't think I've ever seen even one episode.
That's crazy.
Honestly. I don't know. I just like.
There's a lot of classic sketches that have come out of SNL for sure. It's like one of the best sketches.
Chappelle ever on there?
Yeah, Chappelle. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. He had his own show at the time. Like
that's true,
thing, but
there's a whole thing with that too that I don't know the story of.
Yeah, there's a whole thing of like how they tried to like fucking force him to like stay into the contract or else like they're gonna like fuck him over and shit. But like he got out somehow. I don't know the full story, but there's a whole thing with that. But the general vibe though here is like the networks fucking control you pretty much.
Yeah,
it's pretty fucked.
I saw there was a scene. In a documentary that I watched the other day called No Safe Spaces by Adam Carolla and Dennis Prager. Really interesting about free speech.
Adam Carolla, that guy's a comic.
Yeah, he's a comic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's the lead of the documentary or whatever. And I like him in a lot of roasts too.
Right.
Carolla,
yeah.
So anyways, one of the scenes that they have is a round table at Laugh Factory with like him, Tim Allen, Andrew Schultz, there's a couple other people too that you would definitely recognize. Nice. And they're talking about free speech and, censor and like soft and sensitive and whatever. And one of the things that Andrew Schultz said, like it kind of like in a vlog style, like outside the building, like it was probably just like off stage or something.
Yeah.
But it was like really like in passing, but I thought it was actually deeply insightful because what he said was, if you look at Russia as an example, because of the censorship and like the things that you can't say or things you can't make fun of or whatever limitations there are on just like speech in some kind, right? Is one of the reasons that has led to like their idea of comedy being like these, the Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he actually goes, he's like, oh my God, like Russian, like they have a doll and they open, oh my God, like another doll. And then they open and they can't believe there's another one. And it's like, he's not trying to make it seem like that's all that they think is funny. Obviously that's not, but he's illustrating the point, I think, of like, when you get in the way of people truly feeling free to make observations and humorous observations of the things that they see in the world, what you get is this kind of like, it seems kid-like. It almost seems like very elementary in a sense, like of like, it's humorous in like a very grade 1 kind of way of like, oh, haha, like, and so.
Exactly. It's very restricted.
Right. And I thought that was very insightful because, when I look around at the funniest places known for comedy, the people that typically want to head to those places that are the best at doing comedy, the people who do the best on internet and places that we've gone to see them in person that do comedy, you want to see the person that's going to say the thing that you either know you don't feel comfortable saying, or you can't say, or you don't want to say, or I don't know, like it's I don't know exactly how to parallel them of like where their importance is and like the the hierarchy of like projecting a message and freedom and speech and like that kind of thing. But like in a maybe it's a stretch, I'm not sure, but like in a sense, like I almost feel like you have this leadership quality, right, about being on stage with a microphone in your hand and you're going to broadcast to like tens, hundreds, maybe thousands of people right in front of you, and you're getting to like you literally are on a stage that expects you to 100% be yourself and be comfortable doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's very powerful, right? Yeah. And I think that's something that like one of them also, to finish that scene, like there was somebody else who mentioned, if you look at the times when times were tough and hard men were created and weak men were created in these sort of cycles or whatever, you can closely follow comedy and when the rise of like the funniest kinds of new styles or new comedians or new places or ways of stand-up comedy like emerge are typically after these times when people try to restrict things.
Oh, interesting.
And what happens is like you inevitably force people or gently guide them or forcibly guide them into what we talked about last episode, this kind of prohibition style. Yeah,
illegal.
Right, and you go literally underground or like into basements or like you start doing private comedy shows where it's like, because one of the thoughts I had when you were speaking about what you were saying, I was like, well, think about if the current censorship or the current like idea of like what people find sensitive continues, you're going to eventually get to this Russian nesting doll situation, right? Where like nobody can make a joke about anything. And it's like, how then it's like almost like a timer, a game of like the people that are in the audience who are clearly lying to themselves about what they think is funny in the greater, because of the greater good of the ideology and the tribe that they've like, attached their jersey name to or whatever. How long until somebody gets up and is like, yo, honestly, like this pretending is not worth it anymore. I don't give a shit if you guys all think I'm now leaving the group or the tribe and because people are afraid of saying I was wrong or I didn't see it or this is getting too far or whatever. And those are very 100%. Normal and understandable. But when that happens, I'm very curious. It's like, how long and how much shitty comedy are you going to be able to sit through?
Yeah, no chance.
Because let's say this is extended to movies, right? And let's say like extended to shows and TV and like certain things. And it already has, obviously, to some extent, a big extent, maybe.
Definitely.
So it's like, well, are you surprised that the people who didn't agree with you, that didn't just get deleted off the face of the earth, are still continuing to tell the jokes and the playing the music that you don't like and the this and gathering? It's like...
People are always going to be the same over time.
So then, right. And so this is where I'm saying like censorship eventually is going to come for the person who keeps pushing it forward, right? Like they're, you don't realize, you just can't see it yet, but you're digging your own fucking, whatever, fuck up or whatever. Demise.
Yeah, that's a good word. I mean,
demise.
Everything that goes up must come down. I think that's a true statement. Like, and you can relate that to censorship and where comedy is going and everything. It's always like, there's always the waves of, like you said, it's a few years, it's very offensive comedy. and it goes to alt, and then like progressive, and then it goes back to offensive because people are sick of this,
right?
And they go back to that, and then they're sick of this, and go back to here. There's always like waves of those eras, and I feel like now it's starting to go back into the offensive era, which is like my favorite, and I see more and more people liking that stuff, and more comedians that are coming out, getting a little bit traction that are more offensive comedians, which I love to see, because it's been very progressive in the past like decade, pretty much. I've noticed since I started doing comedy, it's been very progressive, pretty much. And now it's starting. I can feel it. It's getting. Now people are fucking like, they're actually becoming funnier because they're being more real and they're digging into their minds of the genuine thoughts they have about the world and observations that are more on the offensive side rather than holding back, which is very nice to see as a comedian myself. Very refreshing. And also the people want it, man. Like, that's what they were talking about on that podcast too, how like people are just tired of sensitivity and censorship. And that I feel like a lot of people are craving more of the raw, offensive material now, which is, I feel like it should always be like that.
But to be clear, when you say offensive, like we're not saying, like I don't think you're saying it's actually offensive. It's considered offensive at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's
right? By like, but
like it's more just like dark, dirty comedy, stuff like that. Yeah,
right. Yeah, but it's just like the line. It's like a moving target, or what do they say? It's like oh, this is sensitive, and now this.
Yeah,
now
it's always
it's like
it's always like moving up and down, but then it's funny because when he got fired, he said he did a stand-up show that night at the stand in New York City.
I bet there was a lineup around the block.
It was he got like a round of applause, like crazy, because those are people who actually were fans of him, and like just to show him like, yo man, don't worry, we got your back. Because like, what the fuck, like, no one gives a shit about what he said on podcasts. Totally. Who actually care, who actually are comedy fans.
Yeah. Especially when the context is from years ago, right? Like there's so many elements and factors that you have to consider. And like,
exactly. So that's why it's so weird, like how soft TV is, which is, it's even more like, why would any comedian even want to be on TV anymore?
Right.
It's like, just do your own shit on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and whatever, right? So it's actually pretty motivating knowing that that's possible nowadays. Before you couldn't do that, right? It's way easier now. Before you were restricted. You either had to get on TV or you're fucked as a comic. Because you had to get that 5-minute set on the Late Show. And that was the only way for you to break through into this industry.
Right, yeah.
Right? And maybe like have your set play on Sirius XM. That's it. But now you have YouTube, you have Instagram, you have all this shit.
All these things at your disposal.
People doing specials on YouTube. Andrew Schultz did a special on YouTube. This guy did a special this past week. It's going to be on YouTube. Like, I'm going to fucking do one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to do it.
Why shouldn't you?
Just post it.
Why shouldn't you?
Because like, yeah, why not?
This is like we talked about it, I think, a few episodes ago too, where we said like when you consider like all the years that nightclubs or comedy clubs or venues in general like had this like grid lock on people and like this kind of like, they control like what people can do or where they can go. I'm not saying it's purely make them out as bad people. Like there are some of them who are like this and many who are not and who are great. But the ones who do, it's like that was the short term like thing you couldn't like you were just focused on the short term win and trying to squeeze everything you could out of that one night, that one weekend, and maybe it's because you had a mismanaged business or it wasn't good or it wasn't that great, and like you took advantage knowingly of quite a few people, and like sure there's earning your stripes and being hard and doing stuff that is contributing to the hustle of like making it, and it shouldn't be easy, and like those things 100%. I think there's fairness that should exist, but in a way, I'm not saying this to like get back at people, but to know that you earned back a bit of your own autonomy, you don't have to rely on those people.
100%.
And I think that's powerful as fuck.
It's nice to know.
And so when I think of it from that standpoint, at times I'm confused about my previous self and your previous self and lots of the people who continues to still live the way of not putting out as much content as they literally can all the time without like, burning yourself out. I don't mean it from that standpoint, but like as much as you could in the amount of time you've allotted for it, is like kind of shocking, I guess I would say. It's like, even right now when I consider the opportunity, it's like wildly, I think, still untapped.
Of
like,
what? Content?
YouTube as just one platform. Just looks like one platform. It's like,
how do you even think that though? Because it's been around since 2007. There's billions of videos.
I have the good old Gary V point of view on this.
Gary?
TikTok. I have the Gary V point of view of like, listen, like let's not even use you as a good example. Let's use Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Okay. As the most fucking famous. Yeah. Okay. He could easily, let me remove the part easily. He could do way more than he's doing right now. He could do more daily content, more micro, more video, like not to the point where you're drowning people and no one can keep up with it, but even that hasn't hit the scale of what it could do. Like he's putting out a video every few days or every week, or like Nelk is, or these big creators.
Yeah.
If you look at everybody else who isn't part of those like few percent of the top, majority of people could treat this like, think about Twitch streamers. It's easier to stream because you can sit there and you don't have to create as much content as like somebody else might have to on YouTube.
Yeah.
But if you started to look at your life as like, well, if I get over the idea of like, I'm going to tell people like what I do for a living is I make content for YouTube. Because I think that's actually a big thing that gets in people's way. Like I'm a content creator. Like they can't, I don't know, maybe it's
true. It's not like fully a thing yet.
But if you think about what that actually means, it's like you're a creator of content that is in the form based around the message you're trying to send to the world. And that message could be funny. It could be informative. It could be
a coach.
It could be whatever. It could want it to be, or whatever your thing is, right?
Yeah, it's true.
If you think of it from the standpoint of like, well, at a full-time job, if I'm putting in pure effort around this context, just change the context from somebody else's career or job or company to your own channel or thing that you're trying to promote or get out to the world. All of a sudden, it's like, well, what is actually in my way of doing 3 videos a day? Probably just your own belief around its possibility, right? People are like 3 a day. Because I've heard conversations even with people that I thought wouldn't react this way, like just like not eavesdropping, but overhearing it.
Yeah.
Of like, you'll tell somebody, oh, like I'm up to 2 posts a day on like Instagram. And they're like, wow, whoa, like, you know,
I know.
How is that possible, right? And then I'm thinking like, how is that possible? Dude, this is nothing. Like I feel like we're sitting around like just twiddling our thumbs. Think about what I'm saying and how different our point of view is, and I think about how Gary V's, who's the one who implemented this into my mind, and I'm not even fully there.
I know
what he thinks about it.
Yeah, legit.
And then, well, like him or hate him, think he's a snake oil salesman or not. I don't even know
what that means. What does that mean?
Whether he is those things or not, he is the person that he is. He created this following in this audience base and this attention space. He still did it.
All because of content.
Snake oil salesman is like, I don't actually know either, but I'm assuming like sometime back in like the bazaar and the markets era of like, you know, hundreds and whatever, maybe even thousands of years ago, there was people who passed off some kind of like remedy or healing property of something that they actually ended up being snake oil. And I'm assuming snake oil will kill you, or it's like a dupe, or it's like a
dupe.
it's like some sort of
fraud.
It's a Ponzi scheme of some kind.
Yeah.
Either
right. Okay. That
it's ineffective or it kills you. I'm not sure.
Right. That makes sense. And people think he's that.
Yeah, exactly.
So they also think he does drugs.
Who?
Like he literally made a video a couple of days ago. He's like,
Gary?
He's like, bro, like when I was in college, like my boys tried to get me to smoke a blunt. But like I wouldn't fucking do that shit, you know what I'm saying? And then like he would talk about he wouldn't even touch a blunt ever. And like now there's comments that he gets on his videos like, yo man, this guy does so many drugs. This guy's a cokehead.
Yeah, of course.
And his college boys would screenshot those comments and send it to him like, bro, only if they knew that you don't do shit.
Yeah,
it's like it's crazy how like obviously people are gonna call him a snake oil salesman because people think he's a crack addict. When I
he's
sober as fuck.
When like he did a garage sale thing video the other day, like a long, almost like a vlog style thing on his story, and it was entertaining to watch, but more so even informative because it's like, look, like if you are actually, I think the utility of what he's saying is really there. If you're a kid or up and coming and like you don't want to work for somebody else, you don't like it, you're down to like live more humble, and you're down to do this kind of garage sale, flip life, whatever thing, you actually can get yourself out. Right? Like you could find the living situation based around the skill set you currently have and then fully leverage that to being on the channel or the platform you need to be on, creating as much content as you possibly can. And either it's going to grow, and if it doesn't grow, you'll still have learned something, and you'll have learned why it didn't, and you'll maybe learn, okay, you're not as funny or as good as whatever, and doesn't mean you shouldn't stop it. Maybe it's do something else, but either way, until you get the reps in, and this is the problem. Like right now, when I say episode 113 today, like episode 113, like this is nothing. I feel like we're not. I feel like I'm not even. If this whole thing was the NBA championship. I don't even feel like we're in the regular season. I don't even feel like we're in the preseason. I feel like I'm in the off season on my way to going to the first off season practice.
Yeah, training camp.
It's like I know so fucking little about anything, let alone this. I have 113 reps in. It's like, dude, Joe Rogan actually has 10 times more than us.
What does he have?
Way more than 10, actually. 17 something he's at right now.
Oh shit.
So 17 times pretty much.
Over 10 years pretty much.
So when I look at some of these things, it's like, man, he's that good. Or you could look at it as he's only that good at this point.
Yeah.
Sure, I have a different skill set. Maybe I was more meant to do it than he was. Maybe you are more. So like, sure, maybe just by looking at it and learning from him, I can increase my own learning. And you should, right? You should learn from the people before you and do it better. That's the whole point of this whole thing, right? So sure, maybe we get there faster, quote unquote, but maybe not.
Yeah, maybe it takes us longer.
Maybe it takes you longer, and like to when you really, and that's why we have patience up on here.
Patience.
Like, when I really think of the macro piece of this, I'm like in the macro patience of it. Honestly, in the macro patience of it, like, can I actually picture myself doing this?
Yeah,
right? For 10 years around me. Yeah, more even. Yeah. Why does 10 years have to be the end of it? Dude, he's been doing martial arts 35 years. I asked myself, man, could I be doing podcasting 35 years?
It's a long time.
And the very idea of that not only didn't make me feel it actually made me not anxious, but like, the excitement feeling of like, it's scary because, and I want to bring it back to what I said earlier of like you're almost afraid of your own light, your own possibility. You're afraid of like stepping in and like claiming like this is what I should do. And I've actually been writing, like journaling on this a lot in the last few days. So I can maybe share a little bit. It's like a friend and listener of the show, and several of them, but one person in particular I'm thinking of right now, who contacted me privately and shared ideas about like the feedback on like the show and like what I said and like how I speak, and like just really useful feedback. Really inspired more of me to claim this like, hey man, like you don't have to be afraid of like expressing or proclaiming like this is what I like to do. It's what I want to do. It's what I can see myself doing. Like you don't have to be afraid of your own possibility in a sense. And like that's why at the top of the show I said, I haven't been comfortable up until this point, like maybe up until recently, not literally today, but up until this point of like being comfortably expressive in all of the ways, right? And like I started with writing just privately for myself, and then maybe a couple to other people, notes and emails and thoughts and whatever, and then a little bit on the podcast, and I spoke about that on episode 100 of like this being like the anchor of like my day. I really built like not just my day, my schedule, but I built a lot of my own confidence of like, hey, like people have read your words, maybe now they're gonna hear your voice, maybe now they can see it and like the whole thing come together. And I just think that the story of like telling the telling of the story, so long as you can see the story continuing, is the thing that people should do, and I should do. I'm taking this actually my own advice, and I'm glad that we're here at this point, with all these things here,
just by doing, making.
Fuck man, Gary V. Make and snake oil and blueberries and
cokehead.
Yeah, man, it's been
a lack of context, man.
It's been a great journey to get here.
I know. I feel like it's been nothing too. Like 113 is a lot, but also not a lot at all in the grand scheme of things.
Like think about it this way: like every post that you put on Instagram takes you approximately the same amount of time it takes us to record an episode. Yeah. Sure, it takes you 10 minutes to film it. It takes us 45 an hour, 2 hours, but you have to edit and post it and draft it and blah, blah, blah. And so think about like how many more reps you've put in on those platforms. And like,
I'm still here.
And you only feel like you're at like this point of like where you are on your Instagram or TikTok. And then so think about that as a ratio, and then think about where you are with podcasting, right? Like
it's baby, man. So it's literally baby. Like I've been doing it for 6 years.
Right.
Making content. Legit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
6 years. Coming up in September, it'll be pretty much 6 years. Even though I started off making shit content, I was still making content, right? Yeah. On YouTube. Till now, thousands of videos. And I feel like I've barely started. I'm just getting started pretty much. Now I'm starting to get into the real shit. Mm-hmm. It's 6 years.
Wow.
Of making videos. And I've been doing this, and I've been doing way more videos than we've been doing podcasts too.
That's exactly my point.
Like I'm saying, like on a more consistent level.
Exactly.
And more quantity.
And you're only at this point.
I know. So it's 35 years. Then it doesn't seem like that much. Then
like, do you ever get excited thinking about, like, let's say 5 years from today, you looking back and being like, man, like I can't believe like where I was in the first 5-6 years of what I was doing, and you look back to what you're doing now, and maybe you don't look down at it. You're just like, wow, like.
Evolve. Yeah, you evolve.
And so do you ever find it exciting to think like, what will I be doing however many years down the line that's so much more, not bigger, but like maybe more elaborate or different in some sense, that makes what I'm doing now feel, I don't know, basic or like simple of some kind.
I feel like it'll get to a point where I'm doing like legit productions in a few years. And then I'll look back and making content at the same time. But like, way more in a consistent groove about it, and also not thinking about it too much. Yeah. As much. As I don't really do it. I don't think about it too much now, but I'm saying even then, like when I'll be busier, which will force me to do more content, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'll be so busy making bigger things.
That's right.
I feel like I will be more motivated to pump out the smaller things still too. Like,
why not?
Faster. And more consistently. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm capable of doing more for sure. I just haven't reached that level yet.
Yeah.
I can definitely see myself pumping out like 5 videos a day at some point. I haven't gotten there yet. Now I'm at 2 to 3, but yeah, it's crazy to think it came from one video a week on YouTube 6 years ago. Everything filmed, edited myself. And now it's, 2-3 a day. And still pretty much doing everything myself with the help of a couple of team members who do like the other stuff as well. Even at that point, still like there's so much left to do, and still need help too. And also the help is actually key. Knowing how much help you could actually use.
It's true.
To do more and different things too. Like imagine I had a videographer, which we've been talking about for the fucking past 2 years.
Been manifesting them.
Like imagine having a videographer film everything for me every day.
I know.
I could do double, triple the amount of shit I've been doing. And more things, like different variety.
Totally, yeah.
Like the better vlogs too, better content.
You don't have to set it up and get the lighting and the framing, the battery and the charge.
I fucking hate setting shit up.
And like, angles.
Angles, bro. Lighting, angles, audio, tripods. Fucking hate it. Oh my God. The amount of times I've literally thought I was filming for 10 minutes.
Wow.
I look and it's like, stupid reasons. One would be like, oh, you know why low battery comes up?
Yeah.
On your phone? For some reason, it fucking stopped.
Fucking hell.
10%. Oh, your battery's at 10%. And it stopped the video. I'm like, why? Just keep it going. Why do you have to interrupt me? And then like, I don't know, either storage loss, so many storage problems. It's like all these things can be resolved with more help, which is a good thing. Totally. But it's like, it's exciting to know that that's coming in the future. I don't know when, but that's what you want to get to, right? Because that's how you evolve. That's how you're going to grow and get better, make progress.
Well, speaking of help and team, we have a team call coming up, and therefore we're going to have to wrap up episode 113 here.
Yeah.
So take it away.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Straight and Curly episode. I'm trying to work on my West Indies impression, so keep up with me, please. This has been another episode, and we're going to keep pumping out the videos, so...
Check out Neema's daily vlogs on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
At Neema Naz.
Neema Naz. Well, obviously, if you're listening to this, I'm sure you already know about the YouTube, but also we're posting these videos for the podcast up on our new YouTube channel called Straight and Curly Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to watch videos of us, watch our beautiful faces, you can do that as well. And listen if you want. But either way, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time on another episode.
See ya.
Peace.